This one comes to us from Rebel Media. Remember when some people said it was a slippery slope with the transgenderism movement forcing society to adapt to people's delusions? And people said, no, you don't understand. And they would trot out some surgeon from the head of transgender surgery. Well, slippery meets slope. Here's a story of a 52-year-old man who now identifies as a 6-year-old girl. No, really. Let's watch.
She said, stop being trans or leave. So that, to me, stop being trans isn't something I could do. It'd be like telling me to stop being, 6'2" or leave.
Actually, it's the exact opposite of that. You're 6'2". You've accepted that you're 6'2". You don't try to chop off your shins and nubble about and tell everybody else that you're 4'8". We all accept that you're 6'2".
I paid a pretty heavy price for transitioning, and so at a certain point, I thought, I've already lost everything and everything's happened. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to show other people that it's okay to be feminine for a guy. And so by coming completely out of the closet, it just liberated me to the point where let's do this, let's talk about it, and let people know that this is okay.
Except it's not. It's not okay.
2007, when I actually stepped forward and started getting myself educated as to who I was and what this was, I was pretty naive.
But that naivete would quickly come to a crashing halt. At age 46, after 23 years of marriage and 7 kids, Stephanie realized she wasn't a crossdresser. She was transgender, a person whose gender is different than the sex they were assigned at birth.
I love this idea. They were assigned. This is the language they use. Or was not a crossdresser. Well, it looks like a crossdresser. It doesn't look any different. No one's seeing this dapper gentleman and confusing him for a 6-year-old girl. But the language we use, and we're going to get something really important here because he abandoned his wife and kids, the culture of me, and that's what the LGBTQ AI and Asylum F transgender movement is about, the social justice warrior movement. It's about me and my personal happiness. Assigned at birth, like a doctor, took the baby out of the womb, looked at it, said, oh, there's a penis. What do we choose to assign this? I don't know. Let's oppress him with male. That'll be good. That'll screw her up.
I'm genderqueer, I'm queer, I'm queer.
So having said that, what have you heard from people?
A lot of feedback. There's a lot of positive feedback. There's a lot more people that are trans. Like, a lot of people come out to me. I get guys that you wouldn't think that want to wear, like cops and bikers, and can I wear a dress? So it gets very playful because you look at people and you think you understand what they're all about.
Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. If that happened, it was maybe like once and they had a hidden camera and it was a prank.
You know, when you see a guy that's 300 pounds with a goatee who pulls in a Harley and is going through my closet and saying, can I wear this dress? Can I wear that dress? Or can I kiss you when I'm wearing the dress? You don't expect it.
Hold on a second. The man with the Harley with a goatee, if this is real, if it's not delusion, as I believe it is, wants to kiss you while he's in a dress, that's child molestation. You're a 6-year-old girl, remember? You can't be kissing men with goatees and Harleys. That's rape. You've been raped. You've been raped, little girl. Call the police. You've been raped. Oh no, the police are trannies too.
That's right. Stephanie has moved on, believing that she will never be accepted by her wife and children. These days, she's got a job plowing snow.
This days, she's got a job plowing snow. Get the snow blower! That 6-year-old girl can really haul that snowblower around. Oh, yeah, she's brilliant behind the snowplow. Wait, hold on a second. How can she drive a snowplow? She's 6. We changed the rules. Stop being an intolerant ass.
And has a new family made up of friends and a new relationship.
There's days I forget my past. I can actually go a week without even thinking about what was before. So it's a fresh start.
Okay, here's the point, right? She's moved on, they say. Well, it's not a fresh start. The only person for whom it's a fresh start is you. What about the children? What about your wife? Did they want that fresh start? What about their happiness? That's the problem here, right? Everything has become morally ambiguous, and it's all about situational ethics. And really, you're basically just worshiping the god of self. You could be an atheist, but you are the god of your own universe, and so screw everybody else. Do you think the wife and daughter are happy to be left because daddy wants to go off and claim to be a 6-year-old, even though she's making out with adults who drive Harleys and pushing snowplows? What about them? What about food on their table? What about providing for the family? What about the pledge you signed to your wife? Do they get a fresh start? Are they happy? It doesn't matter. All of those things are intolerant to ask because this man put on a dress and claims to be 6.
I'm getting accepted in a way I've never been. There's unconditional love. I'm starting to feel like we have a quasi-family that we're creating, and I'm allowed to be exactly who I am, and I don't have to apologize or make excuses why I'm different.
I can't deny I was married. I can't deny I have children, but I've moved forward now, and I've gone back to being a child. I don't want to be an adult right now, and I just live my life like I couldn't when I was in school.
I've moved on, screw them. That's what this person is saying. I'm going back to living my life like a child, and I make no apologies. No, you should apologize. Unconditional, you don't know what unconditional love is. You're supposed to give unconditional love to your wife. You're supposed to give unconditional love to your kids. You don't know what unconditional love is. I want to go back to living like a child. You know who else felt that way? Michael Jackson. The Coreys who were raped. This comes from the Transgender Project. Here's the problem, right? If you say this is hateful. This is clearly somebody who's mentally disturbed. This is somebody who is mentally unhealthy. And unless you accommodate their delusion, Ben Shapiro's talked about this, it is a delusion. You're considered hateful. The only other area in the world with the suicide rate, pre or post-op transgenders, the only rate comparable is those with severe mental illness, namely those with schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Not gay people, not lesbians, not minorities, mentally disturbed people. What's more loving? What's more loving? Help them? Hey, you know what? Probably best not to abandon your children and wife and act like a 6-year-old girl who, mind you, makes out with adults. That's a whole other problem and pushes a snowplow. We're going to have to revoke your license. No, they want reality when it's convenient for them, and they want us to be forced to engage in their delusion when it's not.
How are things in your life now?
Well, I have a mommy and daddy, a adopted mommy and daddy, who are totally comfortable with me being a little girl, and their children and their grandchildren are totally supportive. In fact, her youngest granddaughter, when I was 8, a year ago I was 8, and she was 7, and she said to me, I want you to be the little sister, so I'll be 9. I said, well, I don't mind going to 6, so I've been 6 ever since. But we have a great time, and we color, we do kid stuff. It's called play therapy. No medication, no suicide thoughts, and I just get to play.
Now, firstly, those other people who, the mommy and daddy who adopted him, need to be checked for child abuse. Putting your little daughter around somebody like that's just not, it's not safe. And by the way, you're putting your little daughter around someone you may claim is a 6-year-old girl, but self-admitted wants to kiss fully grown male bikers. Would you allow that for your 7-year-old granddaughter or just the one with the penis and the wig? I'm a little murky on the rule book. Slippery slope, 6 years old. Does this man get to go to first grade? Kindergarten? What's the kindergarten? First grade? Does he have to go to second grade afterward if he still feels like a 6-year-old? We got to move up. I don't want to move up. Yeah, but you got to move up now that you're there. No, I want to stay back. So let's take that, right? Again, everything is subjective. It may sound absurd. This man wants to be a 6-year-old girl in first grade. It sounds absurd, but if I were to tell you 2 years ago that a man with a dong and bollocks would have been voted Woman of the Year, you would have said, well, that's absurd. And then if I might have told you only 6 months ago that this man is now living as a 6-year-old girl, you would have said that's absurd. So who knows what's going to no longer be considered absurd in 6 months from now, right? So let's not act as though it's somehow too extreme. This person has been adopted, is allowed to live and play among 6-year-old girls, and granted still make out with bikers with goatees who are fully grown men and push a snowplow. What's the child labor laws? I don't think 6-year-old girls are allowed to push snowplows. I'm not entirely sure. This person, this man, does this man get to stay in first grade in perpetuity? So let's scale that back. That sounds absurd and extreme. All right? What about the 8-year-old boy who thinks he's a 7-year-old girl or 6-year-old girl and wants to be held back 2 grades and be with the girls? That's less extreme than this. That could happen. Do we no longer force them to move up in school grades because it's discriminatory? What about taking standardized tests? Do we no longer force them to take standardized tests? What about divorce laws? Do we absolve divorce laws because technically this isn't the same person who was married because they're now legally identified as a woman? The woman married a man and the kids were born to a father, but now this is a 6-year-old girl. So how does that affect divorce laws? Do you see how it's a little bit more than love versus hate? But here we are. This is not a Monty Python sketch. This is for real. Let me recap it and we'll let you go and see you at next week's podcast. 52-year-old man leaves his wife, leaves his daughter, becomes a 6-year-old girl who's been adopted by other people who allow him to hang around their small children. Yet, for some reason, child labor laws don't apply to said 6-year-old girl because she pushes a snowplow and makes out with biker dudes. I can't even do it. If you like this video, subscribe by clicking my face or the button above me that says subscribe. There are also 2 videos playing in boxes next to me. Well, I should say, I don't want to ascribe. I see them as videos. They may not identify as videos. They may identify as moving pictures. It's not my job to assume. Videos. What are your preferred digital pronouns?